The land was frozen solid. Not just cold, mercilessly cold. In the brutal winter regions of Turkey, where the wind cuts like a blade and every breath turns to ice, most creatures struggle just to survive. But wild boars, they don't just survive here, they dominate. Wrapped in thick layers of fat and coarse, iron-like fur, these beasts move through the snow as if winter itself bows to them. While farms sleep beneath frost, the boars remain restless, tearing through fields, crushing fences, and leaving behind a trail of destruction that farmers wake up to in silence and disbelief. This wasn't a hunt for sport. This was damage control. After days of relentless freezing weather, the sky finally opened, clear, calm, deceptive, a rare window. The kind hunters wait for because they know what follows. We didn't hesitate. Gear was packed fast, rifles checked, scopes cleaned, every movement precise. There was no room for mistakes in conditions like this. One slip, one misjudgment, and the hunter becomes a hunter. As soon as we reached the area, the team split up instinctively, each man moving to his assigned zone. The snow told a story only experienced eyes could read. Deep tracks, broken brush, churned earth beneath ice. They were close. Then it happened. A sharp sound pierced the silence. The baying of hunting dogs. They had picked up the scent. Adrenaline surged. We moved fast, boots crunching through frozen ground, breath heavy, hearts pounding. Somewhere ahead, something massive was running. And then we saw it. A dark shape burst through the white landscape. Powerful, fast, unstoppable. The scope settled. One breath, one squeeze. The shot cracked through cold air. The beast dropped. Up close, the reality was staggering. Nearly 200 kilograms of muscle and fury lay motionless in the snow. A walking wrecking machine, now still, looking at its size. It was impossible not to imagine what it had already destroyed and what it would have destroyed if left unchecked. But there was no time to celebrate. Just a few hundred meters away, Leon's team had already locked onto another target. They moved like shadows, choosing position, calculating angles, adjusting scopes with deadly calm. A single gunshot echoed. The boar tried to flee, but only made it a few steps. Cheers broke the tension, not excitement or relief. Another threat removed. Another piece of land spared. Still, the hunt was far from over. Gunfire rippled through the forest, pushing the remaining boars deeper into cover. We kept moving, never stopping, never relaxing. In terrain like this, standing still is how you lose control. Then, another opportunity. I adjusted the scope, steadied my breathing, and fired. Clean, controlled, effective. The temperature continued to drop. Snow thickened. Visibility worsened. And slowly, the forest fell silent again. No movement. No sound. For now, with frozen fingers and exhausted bodies, we pulled back, carrying success, but knowing this was only the beginning. Because when wild boars disappear, it doesn't mean they're gone. It means they're watching. And tomorrow, we would push even deeper, into places where dogs can't help, and where instinct is the only thing standing between survival and disaster. Next morning, the cold felt different, not weaker, sharper. Without the dogs this time, the forest felt larger, darker, and far more dangerous. Every step echoed louder in our heads than it did on the frozen ground. In hunts like this, dogs are more than helpers. They are an early warning system. Without them, every shadow becomes a threat. We slowed our pace, eyes scanned constantly, ears strained for the faintest sound. A snapped branch, a disturbed patch of snow, a low grunt buried beneath the wind. Wild boars are masters of stillness. They don't always run. Sometimes they wait. Then we saw it. A massive silhouette stood partially hidden between trees. Thick shoulders, low stance, head down. It hadn't noticed us yet. I knew immediately there would be no second chance. The rifle came up, breath slowed, finger tightened. The shot rang out. The boar jolted, staggered, and collapsed into the snow. A clean hit, fast, merciful. Another monster neutralized before it could vanish into the wilderness. But the forest didn't return to silence. Instead, it exploded. From deeper within the trees, movement erupted. A herd, dark bodies crashing through brush at terrifying speed. The ground vibrated beneath them. I fired quickly, but only one dropped. The rest vanished like shadows, shockingly fast for animals of that size. That's the problem with wild boars. They don't fight alone. There was no time to hesitate. I radioed Leon immediately, predicting their escape route. If we'd intercept them now, they'd disappear into farmland by nightfall, and the destruction would start all over again. Leon didn't ask questions. Moments later, distant gunfire echoed, sharp, controlled, relentless. His team had moved with precision, cutting off the boars exactly where we expected. One by one, the fleeing beasts were stopped. The sound that followed wasn't celebration. It was relief. But even that relief was short-lived, because fresh tracks appeared. Heavier, deeper, wider. These weren't ordinary boars. These were older, smarter, more dangerous. The kind that don't panic, the kind that counterattack. The terrain shifted as we pressed deeper. Steep slopes, ice-slick rocks, narrow paths with no retreat. One wrong step here didn't mean injury. It meant death. Suddenly, a violent rustle exploded from the brush. A massive boar burst out, closer than expected. Too close. It charged. Time slowed. I raised a rifle instinctively. Fired once. Not enough. The beast roared, pain only fueling its rage. It lowered its head, tusks gleaming, snow flying beneath its hooves as it came straight at us. I fired again. This time, the shot hit deep. The boar stumbled, slid, then collapsed just meters away. Steam rose from its body into the freezing air. For a moment, no one spoke, because that moment, right there, is why wild boars are called monsters. One hesitation, one misfire, one slip, and the outcome would have been very different. We stood there, hearts pounding, staring at the fallen beast. Proof that strength alone isn't enough out here. Only discipline, teamwork, and experience keep you alive. But the hunt wasn't finished. Tracks led higher into the mountains, where snow lay thicker, footing grew worse, and daylight began to fade. Somewhere up there, more boars were still moving, and the most dangerous ones were still untouched. By the time we reached higher ground, daylight was bleeding away. The forest had changed again, quieter, heavier, as if it was holding its breath. Snow swallowed our footsteps. Wind cut through layers of clothing. Somewhere ahead, the last boars were still moving, smarter now, pushed into survival mode. That's when we saw it. A massive shape emerged near a rocky ridge, larger than anything we'd faced so far. Scarred hide, thick neck, tusks curved like blades. This wasn't just another boar. This was a leader. It stood still, staring straight at us. No panic, no retreat, just raw dominance. For a moment, neither side moved. The kind of moment where instincts fight training. Then it charged. The ground shook as it came downhill, faster than expected. There was no cover, no time to reposition. Only one chance. I steadied the rifle, ignored the chaos, focused on a narrow window between movement and impact, and fired. The shot landed true. The giant boar stumbled, tried to push forward on pure will, then collapsed into the snow just meters away. Silence returned, real silence this time. No more movement, no more tracks. The war was over. As darkness settled in, we stood there exhausted, staring at the fallen giant, not in victory, but in respect. These animals weren't evil. They were survivors pushed too far, too fast into human land. But farms were safe, crops protected, families could sleep, and in the frozen mountain air, one truth remained clear. When wild boars invade, only preparation, discipline, and courage decide who walks away.